Hey, this is Brian here. We're recording a perspective, 1 point perspective demo. I'm using Procreate. I want to show you how to set it up if you're using Procreate. I'm clicking on the wrench icon, and then I'm going to click on the canvas icon, and then I'm going to click on Drawing Guide, and then I'm going to edit Drawing Guide. And you've got a bunch of options over here, and I want perspective. And so now you got to set up your perspective. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click once in the center of the picture, and that blue line will be the horizon, and those little faint lighter blue lines will be kind of giving a cue of where your perspective is. You could do a 2 point perspective by just clicking again, and then you can move these points around and see if you go off your canvas, they kind of show you where the point is. And you could also do 3 point perspective if you really wanted to. Just FYI, with 3 point, you really want this last point really far down. And the nice thing is when you draw, it just follows these points. So, but we're not done yet. First of all, I'm going to delete some of these. So I'm just going to think if I click and hold on it, forget how to get rid of them. There we go. So I tapped on it. So I'm going to delete 2 of these, and just because we're doing 1 point perspective for today. So go back to this and we'll put it in the center. Notice my horizon line has spun around. And how do I straighten that back out? I'm not actually sure. Let's just delete this one too, and we'll start again. Okay, 1 tap in the center. All right, so that's good. But the other trick is this won't help me unless I activate the assist, is what it's called. So if I open up my layers and I click on layer 1, there's all these different options. And what I want is drawing assist. And so I can have layers with it and layers without it. So if you kind of go along the lines that are, notice this one didn't follow it, because in a 1 point perspective, I can draw square lines that are horizontal, vertical, and it will assist those. And then I can also draw the perspective lines. So if I kind of go along and then right on the horizon, this is going to get a little tricky because it's not, if I'm going really close, sometimes you have to watch that because it'll straighten it out thinking that you want a flat line for the horizon. So and I'm using 2 fingers to undo. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a kind of like a little warehouse. So it's going to be 1 point perspective of an interior of a building with a bunch of boxes. And so one of the tricks is just to try to get the proportions correct. So I actually made my own little brush that's a square. You could just draw your squares, but I'm going to use my square brush, which is, let's see if I do this. And the reason is because eyeballing a square is a little trickier. This is a little goofy because I can only change the size by making the brush size bigger or smaller. So I made a bigger size brush. Anyway, you could draw a square, try to approximate square, but let's delete these for a second. And let's start with the room, and then we'll add the boxes. So I'm going to go back to a regular brush. And so to set this up with some sort of idea of perspective, or sorry, a scale, first I'm going to add a new layer. And this one is not assisted. And so this one I can draw just random stuff in without having to worry about those guidelines. So I'm just kind of just drawing a little goofy dude here, just for scale. So I like to kind of start with something so I can kind of gauge the rest of the, like to do architecture, I need some logical door frames and windows and height of rooms and things. So this is going to be my character, and I put him purposely right at the horizon line because I don't know if you remember, we were talking about the horizon line is the same as your eye level. So in this case, I'm in this, if I'm viewing this scene as a average height human, and there's another average height human in the scene, and so they're going to line up on the same horizon line right through their eyes. So that's going to give me I'm going to start with the back of the room there. And now I'm going to go back to my other layer and just start kind of, let's see. I'm going to draw the back wall up higher than him because he's a little bit forward of the back wall, or they are. And then the room height, let's say this person is 5 feet, 5.5 feet tall, and so their eye line is 5 feet, let's say. Um, so how tall is a room? So this is good to kind of actually start knowing some architectural um, details. Like my house has really tall ceilings, but right now 6, 7, 8. Um, I'm in a room with a shorter ceiling height, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball this again and say, all right, this is going to be the back wall of my room. So I'm going to start there. And I just drew another little line here. That'll be the molding, maybe, I don't know. And um, and maybe there's going to be a window in this back wall. And so I'm just thinking, let's try a trick here. So even though uh, I've got my guidelines on, I'm going to draw a diagonal line all the way across this back wall. And you'll notice that it starts to try to go to the perspective guides, but if I hold and don't let go, uh, it will kind of break free from that. So watch, I'm going to draw towards the other corner, but it's going to kind of make the guidelines go towards the center. Oh, look at that. Actually worked perfectly. But if I just hold and wait, then I can move it exactly where I want it. Okay, so that gave me two. I can divide this up now into quadrants. I don't think I need to divide it up, but I want to make the window um, kind of centered in here. And so that's what this X is going to be for. So the window, this person's going to look out the window. So maybe it's got to be a little taller than they are. And we'll go down and maybe we'll just use these four corners where, oops, where the diagonal and these horizontal and vertical lines meet. It hits the diagonal, and then I go back across, and I'm going to ink all this in later, so I don't really need to worry about going through the person. So this is going to be kind of a big warehousey space. It actually looks like it's in perspective right now, but it's just those diagonals are only helping me find the window. Um, let's do another trick. Because I don't like that one big window, I'm going to make two smaller windows. So first, I am going to find the center of this, and then I'm going to pick an arbitrary measurement for the first window. So I'm just going to say that. Now this doesn't have any relationship to any of these lines right now, but I'm going to let's make that a little bit brighter blue just so we can see what's going on. That's not brighter blue. This is brighter blue. All right, I think I'm just inking over the color. So now I want to repeat. So I've got a center line, which is this one, and then I've got this new window frame, which is that one there, and I want one on the other side exactly the same distance. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a new diagonal that goes. I'm going to wait till it snaps, and I'm going to go push this. I'm watching the center till it goes through the middle of that X. And then if I could draw both of them, but actually I only need one. And so if I draw a line up, that should give me two equal spacings, and then two equal size windows with equal distance centered in between them. And so now let's do some trim around those windows. And so let's see. Here, let's change this to brighter still. So in this case, I'm drawing down, and then I got to wait, snap over there, and then this one I'm going towards this upper corner, wait and snap over there, and now I've got a kind of diagonal that this is a new one, and I could see that some of my things aren't quite lining up exactly, so I'm going to redo that last one, and this should scoot over a little bit, I can see. And so I'm snapping that. Yeah, that looks a little bit more correct. And so now I'm going to just draw some trim. And this is, when you do this divided up with the X in the center, you can use this on any rectangle. And then this is making a proportional, exact same ratio smaller. So if I wanted the equal size trim all the way around, this is not quite the right method. But a lot of windows do have a bigger header typically. And then let's actually do the little windowsill to actually have like a little windowsill. So this actually proportionally looks okay. And then if I want to do the other window, I can come over here and I could just take this measurement across, and that will give me the height of this window. And then let's draw a diagonal down here. And I've got that crossover right here, so I can actually start this coming down. And now I need that last diagonal. But I could also transfer these over from this other window, because that's just a direct transfer. So a lot of the stuff I just did works in perspective or in flat plan view. Okay, so now I've got my two windows, and a lot of times I like to, like I'll take this layer and I'll turn the opacity down, and usually I'll build up some more before I do this, but I just want you to be seeing just the final stuff. So I've turned that down, I made a new layer, but I got to click on this one and say drawing assist there too. And now I'll go with a little bit of it, whoops, darker blue. And still in my ink. And then here's where this can add a little bit of finesse in here. So like a lot of times I'll make my outer edge a little bit thicker. And then this inner edge, I'm just lightening up, whoops, a little bit. And then I'll turn this down even further and then do these last little details. I can't even barely tell the difference. So you get different line weights, kind of. So like, let's say there was a colored wall in the background. So you get a color break between the trim and the wall. So that typically I have a thicker, my thing is kind of wigging out sometimes. So here, let's do this even a little bit thicker. And later I'll put that little person in. So I might have to erase a little bit of this, but let's just do this for now. And you could do this by just kind of passing over the lines a couple times. Like, so this is, let's say, the darker inner edge. So I'm pressing down harder. And then here's the little detail. I'm pressing down lighter just to get that variance. Okay, now, typically there's actually a lot of different stuff on the window. There's the trim that's on the wall, but then there's the trim that's on the window itself. And technically, that we're kind of pushing into perspective. And so let's actually use our window. Let's see, make sure I got my assist on. And so now I'm going to kind of go from my corners to my vanishing point. And why is that not working? There's my vanishing point is not dead center. So I don't know where is it, but you can kind of see the lines. It's somewhere about right there. So that's why I was a little confused, because I thought it was in the center. But okay, so I'm going to draw a little corner going off towards the vanishing point on each of the insides of these windows. And whoops, come on. And then I got to determine a kind of how deep and thick those windows are. And it's not much, but I'm going to exaggerate it just a little bit so you can see. So I am going to, where that hits that line, let's zoom in. You can see that it's right there. And then I want to make sure that that's pretty accurate. These errors compound. That means you make a little error on this corner and then you trace it over and you're tracing that on the other side, and it just keeps on getting worse and worse. So the more accurate you can be, the better. All right, so here's a case where I want this wall thickness, or sorry, the window frame thickness. So I'm just going to kind of lightly go in here and then, why does that look different? I think I inked in this window frame a little bit lower. So I'm just going to cheat a little bit, push that one down so that that's more equal than more technically correct. Okay, so I got a little perspective on those windows, and now I could put a little frame around that as well. But you have to, this gets a little tricky because some of this we can't see. So there are, if I took this inside edge of the window, let's do this one because it's a little further. There's some of the window that's hidden by the frame if I went all the way down here. So this is, I would say you could stop with the windows there, but an advanced technique is to draw this kind of hidden line here, and then we're going to draw a new diagonal. Let's do this one in green. Again, so you could just bypass this step if you're already kind of going, oh, this is all too much. But if you're going, I think I know what I'm doing, then you could try this. So I'm drawing a new diagonal that's set back in the window frame in the depth. And now with that new diagonal, I'm going to trace out the trim. And so I'll just keep doing this in green. So I'll just pick a random height for this next window frame and chase it around the green. And again, proportionately, this is, now it's a little thicker on top than the sides. Now, if I get down to this side, you'll see that that one is hidden. It's going to be hidden by the frame in the front, so we won't even see that little piece of the window frame. And then we got to add a little thickness there too, because this is, we got to put the glass in there. So I'm going to darken this up a little so you can see it better. So I'm going to go off again towards the vanishing point. And again, you know, this, with modern windows, some of this is actually pretty thin. But let's keep this. And typically I do all of the kind of underlay stuff on one layer, or several layers, and then I do one inking on the end, because see what happened here. Yeah, I drew right on top of that window frame, so I gotta darken that back up, make sure I'm in the right layer. And so this has got to be on top of that. And I can erase this stuff now because that was just all to help me figure out where that was in space. So now I got a trim, kind of a setback, the thickness of the wall, window trim, and then there would be glass in that window far back there. So lather, rinse, repeat, do it the same on the other side. I'm going to jump forward just to keep this video shorter, and then maybe I'll go in and detail it out later. All right, so let's go back to my original. Where's the dude? Oh, here he is. Okay, so I'm just going to turn him way down just so he's not distracting. All right, so I got my wall. Let's, we're in our ink layer. Let's go ahead and ink that in. Okay, so not the diagonal. We don't need that anymore. We just need the outer edge of the wall. And I had put some, I did a little accident and just decided to make it a trim, but trim should probably be a little thicker than that. So let's make a little bit more of a molding down at the bottom of the wall. Okay, so that's the back wall. Now we got to kind of just, this is the easy part, is just pushing these out in space. And we're going to kind of, we talked a little bit about the cone of vision. So the edges are going to get a little bit distorted as we move, put details in. Sorry, I'm just looking at, why does this look? I think I keep on looking at this X that I've got in there as the center, but remember, like our center vanishing point is right there. All right, so now this is a little bit of a tricky part because now I want to, let's say, put some windows on the side walls, and I can trace out the height of those, but I'm trying to get the um, the measurement of them to be roughly the same. So I've got an idea. I don't know if this is going to work. I haven't done this before, but we need. Let's do another. Is this? Let's do another layer just so we got to assist each layer that we want assisted. I'm going to do this in red because this we want to see this. All right, so I need to figure out what is the depth in perspective. It's really easy doing this flat stuff, but I'm trying to get this window. Let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about first here. So if I draw these lines over to this wall and then go out from my vanishing point, I can draw a window on here that's technically the same height, but is it the same width? That's the problem. It's really easy to mess this up basically because things get really squished in perspective. So, and then also I want this space over here to be the same space over on this wall. Sorry, I'm going to do this slow for before I do the first window. So what we need is something called a diagonal vanishing point. And I think I'm just going to draw one right on the edge of my page. Now there's a technical way to get to this diagonal vanishing point. The trick is it actually can move around a little bit. It depends. It's effectively like changing the lens on your camera, whether you're zoomed in or zoomed out, is where this point ends up. So technically there's a range of where this can be, but the more important thing is we want to be consistent. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from this diagonal vanishing point through this corner, and this has got some dotted line. I don't know why. I have no idea why that made a dotted line. I've never done that before. Weird. Don't know what that means. Let me draw that again. There's a bunch of hidden features in Procreate, and a lot of times I stumble across them, and I might have did something like an extra tap while I was doing that, but who knows. Anyway, so if you follow this red line, really what I'm kind of looking at, and let me do a new layer without assist. So right that corner right there, this diagonal vanishing point will tell me if I want to draw a square in anywhere in this room. If I draw it to this line and then go across, that is technically a square. And so I think what I can do is if I bring this window down to the floor, just the width of it, and then forward out in perspective, and then where I cross that diagonal vanishing point, if I go back horizontally now to that wall, and then crawl back up it, and this kind of this effect of where you're going around in I call it chasing the line. So now this window all of a sudden looks way too big, but I think it's because we're way out of our cone of vision. So I'm gonna just not worry too much about that. But technically this space and this space are the same, and the window, like I said, is right on the edge here, so I can't even get the width of it proper because it's off my canvas. So I'm gonna cheat and just make it exactly on the corner just so I have something to guide me. And so I'm doing the same diagonals. And again, you can see when I zoom in that this one is way off. So let me back up and try that again. So we've got the dueling Zoom calls going on. My wife is in a meeting in the other room. So I'm getting some dots again. It's a mystery. Okay, so I got my diagonals there, and then if I take the height of this window over, and then in space, and then same at the bottom, and then back to the vanishing point. And you see I'm drawing away from the vanishing point. If you're doing this by hand, um, a lot of times it's easier when you put your T-square or your straight edge on the vanishing point, and then you draw out, you'll have that whole line in there, or you just draw the part you need, but you start at the vanishing point and then work outward. Because I've got the guidelines, I can just kind of start at the edge of the corner. But all these on this wall are going towards that vanishing point right there. All right, so and then where I met that diagonal, I can draw that line down. And then the thickness, I'm trying to think of if there's a quick and easy way to figure out how deep that is, but let's just eyeball that one. So we're just going to go in, and I'm looking at that, and we'll say it's pretty deep. But um, oops. And remember, if you're just kind of doing the beginner level, you could just do that and stop there. If you're doing the advanced level, then we got to draw another diagonal inside this one. But I'm off my page, so I can't kind of gauge where that back corner is. So I'm going to just leave that alone for now. Now let's do on the other side. Um, there's going to be a door, and I think I have a little more room on the other side. Let's just see. So because this worked on this side, I should be able to just carry this across and go up and go up, and then carry this straight across to the wall, and then from my vanishing point, come on. So that door now is the same height as the windows, because I'm looking at my little dude here. You kind of ghosted, but that seems like about the right height. You walk through a door, you have a little bit of extra, like another foot, depending on how tall you are. And then so we can do the same thing, because this trim typically on windows and doors is the same thickness. But going down horizontally, um, it's going to be, I would probably just eyeball this, but if you want it to be technically correct, I believe I can do this. Draw this thickness down to the floor. Draw this thickness out in space, and then go over to my diagonal vanishing point. And let's see, go from the inside corner. I should be zoomed in because this is, and so that's going to give me transfer that measurement because it's 45 degrees, and I'll explain that in a second. And then let's do I think we can do this backwards on this one. So I went from the outside corner, and I can go from the inside corner and then draw this line up and over. And then this door is going to go to outside or something or other. So I'm going to make this a little thicker. And so I just go straight up. I drew a little straight horizontal. Sorry, I tend to rotate my canvas a lot, but it makes viewing a little more difficult. Here again, I didn't quite get all the way up there, so I'm going to connect that first and then draw that line. And then technically we'll erase this blue line, so we need a new kind of edge where the door, let's say, is. And I've got my little person in there, so like if I'm standing up, the door knob is just slightly above where my hand is, and so he's right there. So if I went over and then over, and then I got to go back down into and then over, and so this is maybe where a some sort of door latch or thing. Let's make it like one of those school things where it's just you push on this bar. I'll make it a little easier because I draw a doorknob, but we haven't got into circles yet. Okay, so this is basic setup for our interior of our room, and maybe if I had some wall or ceiling details on here, I would draw some lines going out. So let's say it's a kind of boarded ceiling. And here's where I would measure out on the kind of roof line. Here, let's see, I'll show you in a second. I gotta go non-assisted. Here we go. So if you're working with on paper, just get a ruler and then mark out every, so many inches. Again, I'm kind of eyeballing this. If I want to do this, I've done this before where if I want to be really accurate about this, this is where there's probably some easier measuring tool in this program. But what I usually do is, for example, let's say I'll just pick a random distance. And actually, I want this on a new layer. Come on. So this is going to get lots of layers. Here, let's actually just rename this one, just so it makes this easier. We'll just call this 1. Okay, so I got just one spacing there. It's got both of those lines. Actually, sorry, no, that's on a different layer. So I got to trace those. And now I'm going to make a duplicate of 1 by sliding this over and say duplicate. And then I can push this over till it's exactly on top of there. And now I've got 2. But I can also just, to make this a little easier, I'm going to keep doubling these up. I'm going to merge that down, then duplicate that, and then push that over, and then merge this down. And again, you can just eyeball it. I've just showed you how to do this more accurately if you want to. Duplicate it, and you can see you get a lot more quickly, but okay. And the reason I'm continuing to go because I want to show you one last little trick. So I'm going to merge this down. And last time, duplicate that. Move. Now I got a whole bunch of these. So I just want to go to the edge of the room, but you can see it's like a half a board. And so I'm going to go a little bit further. So this is like 1 extra board, and then merge this down. And then I'm going to take this whole grouping and then just push this little bar over until it lines up on that corner, and that proportionately squished everything else down. So now I've got an equal spacing that starts with the board and ends with the board. All right, so that I did. This is my just my measuring guide. So I got to go back into an assisted layer. I think this is the red one. So I'm going to actually go back into my kind of ink layer and just do this once for good. And I'm going to start again. You should start in your center vanishing point. Why is this? And then go out to this. But again, my thing is helping me, so I can just start on each of these and draw outward. And now I've got maybe this has got some cool boarded details or whatever. And sometimes these things, these kind of just textures help you see the perspective a little bit better than just a blank wall. So now I've got all these red lines in here, they were helping me kind of figure things out. But now I can turn these down in opacity way down. And I think this one, see, I should rename these. Where's the rename? Sorry. Just so I don't have to keep on poking at it. And then so let's quickly ink these in. And technically, again, this is a board that's stuck onto the wall. And so there's a little bit of thickness here as well. And so I could just do a quick, actually this goes all the way over. So really this should kind of pop out a little bit into the space. And technically this is where it is at the wall and I should pull it out from there, but I can cheat this a little bit by uh, eh, just making this a little bit taller and then align back to the wall. And it's just on this side because the other side's got interior trim. Ah, ah. Sorry, I got to zoom out enough to draw this whole line, and then I can't get it all lined up. There we go. And then this should just go horizontally across. And then in here, we've got this bigger, thicker um, frame where the door is set way back. And then here, let's do that same thing. So I'm going to pull this out a little forward, finish that detail, and then this will make this come down a little deeper. And so again, it's a little bit of fakery, but when you get into these little tiny details, you have the ability to cheat a little bit. So let's erase this edge now. Make that a little fatter. And let's go back thin and get rid of that. And these little details, they take a while, but they're what really adds to the polish. So a lot of times you can get kind of 90% of the drawing done in 90% of the time, and then the last 10% takes another 90% of the time. And then we need our trim to go around as well, but let's do this last window real quick. And I should have been timing this. I'm not sure how long this is going, but I'll wrap this up relatively soon. And on this one, we had the header go across. And, technically, again, we're doing, this is an advanced detail here, but that windowsill actually usually comes out a little bit forward. And so that means that we would come out a little bit further and draw a little board like that, and then erase. So imagine we just built that first part, and then we just tacked on this little extra piece on top of that. Come on, get out of there. And again, get rid of this. So if I plan this out a little bit better, I wouldn't have to erase. And now you can see that actually has like a little three-dimensional kind of feel to it. Okay, so let's put a couple boxes in here. So the idea was this is going to be like a warehouse, and there's going to be a bunch of boxes. Or maybe somebody just moved into an apartment and they're going to unload all their stuff. Oh, and first let's do this trim going around the corner. And again, notice I did a little bit of an edge on the top just to give it some dimensionality. And then this, I should go over to here, measure that, and then technically, once again, they kind of step. So this board is thinner than the door frame board typically. So something like that. All right, so let's now add our boxes on there. So I am going to, and I think I've got an idea too. Maybe we'll put a central light in this room, and then later, when we learn how to do lighting, we'll use this same drawing to add all the lighting in here. So we'll kind of leverage this for two different assignments. So that is our inked in layer. And these boxes, I'm gonna, I don't know what this one is. Oh, that's the guy. Let's just put, rename. And then one is we could turn that off now because we don't actually need that. And then layer 5 was just for kind of making little quick notes and stuff. So I'm going to turn that off. Layer 4 is, we'll just keep on going. Okay, so again, I got to make the new layer, and then I'm going to say drawing assist. And here's where we're going to make the boxes if they don't actually have to be totally square, but I want them to be as close to square as possible because we're going to use this diagonal vanishing point to make them um, actually a cube in 3D space. So let's go to green again. So if I draw um, three sides of this and I want this to be a square, I think, sorry, I keep on spinning again here. I think this will work. If I draw a line horizontal and then I hold and let it go, and then I tap an extra finger on the board, it should shift in increments, but I don't see 45. That looks more like 30, 60. It does not look diagonal to me. Anyway, if you had a right triangle, if you drew, oh, there it goes. I think that would actually work. If you draw, oh, it's actually following the perspective, um, a diagonal down that's 45 degrees, and then you go back up, that should make it a total square. So let's just assume that we got that to be a total square. So now I need to make this a perfect cube in space. And so I'm going to go back to my diagonal vanishing point, which was over here. And I'm going to draw a line to the corner of the box. And then this is kind of goofy because it did actually line up right on the horizon line. So I'm going to do this in red. So this is actually going back in perspective. Forget about that 45-degree diagonal. And then this is going back in perspective. And where that diagonal line from the 45-degree vanishing point meets this line going back in perspective, I can draw horizontally across, and that is a cube or the base of the cube. And now I need to complete it by just going up from this intersection, up from this intersection, back in space from that one, back from this one, and you can see I made this too short again, and then over and across. And this lined up pretty good. A lot of times when you're doing these cubes, that last one won't quite line up, and so you got to go back and kind of look at each and every little intersection to see where you got a little bit off and then a little bit more off and a little bit more off, and pretty soon. Okay, so there's one box. And now I want to draw a smaller box that's sitting on top of this box. And so I'm going to draw another square, but this time just to speed this up, I'm going to use my little square brush. And let's see how big this is. Okay, yeah, that looks good. And I'm just going to darken that up a little bit so you can see it better. And then I'm going to go back in space from all four corners, and then go back to the diagonal vanishing point, which is right up there, and go through one corner of the box. And I'll do this backside in some other color. Let's go yellow. Okay, so I see that crosses right there. And I'm going to break that just so you can see that this is going behind that one. And then follow it around. And there's a good example of it not quite lining up, but if I go look at this corner, I can see that that should be a little further over. And so I got a big box and a small box on top of that box. And let's fill this up with a couple more boxes. So let's put let's put one up against the wall. And so this one we've got to build from the back forward because it's going to be touching the wall. So that means I'm going to, let's make the square bigger. And let's put this one, maybe it's not big enough. That's too big. And I'm going to do this on another layer just so it'll make it easier to move it around. So I'll do the box first, and then I'm going to scoot this up so the bottom edge is just touching that molding. And maybe we'll put this over kind of in this corner. Maybe it's got just a little bit of space. And so this is the back side of the box. And now let's pull the box forward from this. So we'll draw the depth. I'm going to go back to my assisted layer. So from each of these corners, now we come forward. And now we need the depth of the box. And so we're going to go back over to that diagonal vanishing point way over here and draw this now through this corner, and we'll pull it forward and so till it meets that edge. And now I can see my box is so big, it's going to be blocking the doorway. So let's make it just a little bit shorter. That's fine. Let's just keep going. So I'm going to chase this around. And here's another case where something is not quite lining up. That's actually not that bad. Okay, so I've got 3 boxes. I'm going to stop there. I want you guys to do more boxes. Let's see how many we could fit in here. Originally, it's 10 boxes. So some of them could be smaller. So yeah, you could do it. So make some smaller ones on the floor and some bigger ones on the back behind here, maybe. Let's do one more behind here, and this one I'm going to show you. So you got to, by drawing these boxes see-through, it's really important so that you can know where to put the boxes. So let's go back. Wait, let's see. That's there. That's that one. Okay, so I need to draw. I'm going to steal this, the back of this box, the square I used before, to use on this next one. I just have to ink that in so I can see where it is. Okay, so this was my other box. So now I can move it. And now this is going to be the front of the box. And if I come down here, let's make it, that's probably good. And I hope it'll fit in this corner. Now I'm going, so I'm looking at this front here. So let me erase the extra lines just so it's not too confusing. Come on. Yeah, okay. So you can see that on the ground, there's one square, and then this next one is back and a little bit kind of diagonal from that, so that it's not intersecting. That's what you want to avoid, is you want to avoid the boxes doing illogical placement, if you will. Okay, so this is the front of the box in this kind of pink color. I'm just drawing this on top. Am I in the right layer? Yeah. And now we got to draw this now, going back. So I'm going to draw these. I'm just going to draw the bottom first to double check, because it could be that this box won't fit in the corner of the room. Oh, and it just fits. Just fits. So if I look at that intersection right there, that's right up against the bottom of that back wall. So I could have built the box from the back forward like I did on that other one, but we're just lucky. So I got this, and then back in space, and across. And purposely, I'm making some of these overlap, like the windows and stuff. And this is that kind of principle of overlapping that helps. Since all these boxes are different sizes, it's a little hard to tell where they are, and the overlap is really going to help this. So I think I'm going to stop here. What I want you guys to do is to continue, like I said, the draw the actually, no, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to show you how to do some divisions on the boxes. So I am going to take this layer, turn the opacity down, and you can see it looks kind of like a mess now. So this is why inking it in is going to really help to know what is what. So I forget which color. It's this one. All right, so I'm going to start forward since that one is going to be covering up other boxes. It'll help to identify what, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to do this on a new layer. So I could just erase all that. I won't have to erase through my lines for the back molding stuff. So again, I made a new layer, got to do assist. And so now I'm going to start inking this in. I'm going to show you one more little trick that I do. When I'm doing something like a cardboard box, it doesn't have razor sharp corners. It's a little bit soft. So I'm going to draw the outside of the box first, kind of going up, and then there's this one small box is on top, so I'm going to stop right where that meets. And then for all the inside edges where it just transitions from one edge to the other, I'm going to draw them a little bit lighter, and I'm going to draw a double line. And what that does is it kind of indicates this corner that's soft. It's a little bit small radius. And this also allows you, when you're coloring this in, you can put highlights in between those two lines, where if it's just one dark line, you can't, there's nowhere to put a highlight because it's just right on top of the black line. Right, so that is, and since this is a new layer, I'm going to go back to my ink layer and turn that down a little bit just so I can concentrate on the boxes. And so now I'm going to do the same trick. I go around the edge. And this is where that drawing assist really helps because I don't have to keep going back to my vanishing points. It just knows what I'm doing. And so there's the exterior, and then that little interior just whips draw basically a line on either side of that red line. And you know, these are pretty close, but the further apart they are, the kind of more of a radius they indicate. And so like I could actually maybe just lop off that back corner to make that concept even more obvious. So around the perimeter, and if you know, in these kind of perspectives, this, if I went around the corners, it's basically six sides. It's like a hexagon that's kind of smushed, unless it's straight at you. Actually, let's do one box like that just so you can see. All right, so if there was one box like straight in front of us, let's do a small one. So I'll put my, nope, that's too big. Okay, so there's the box, and now I'm gonna go back to my diagonal vanishing point. No, I want to do this on my red layer because I don't want this in my drawing. Okay, so I'm going to go from the, whoops, got to go back to my brush. So I'm going to go from this front corner to the diagonal vanishing point, and then I'm going to draw now on my inking layer. Where's it? Ink. Oh, I know. It's just drawing light because the inking layer is opacity is down, but that's fine. So actually, it's not fine for now. Let's turn that back up so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so if I draw this box, this one is kind of centered, Actually, it's not centered enough. Yeah, about there. I'm just doing one. Erg. Now I got to. Now they moved it. I have to change that the diagonal vanishing point again, which is again. I gotta just name these. We have 4. Okay. So drawing a line. I can't see it. Drawing a line from the corner. And now if I draw these, you'll see that this meets that. And if I draw this corner, it's hidden. Oh, and see, I'm trying to draw straight up and it was kind of crooked because I'm so close to the vanishing point. Whether it's in perspective or vertical is pretty close. All right, so this box, I just said most of the boxes have like a hexagon or 6 sides. This one, we're only going to see 2 sides because the rest of it's all buried. So let's go back to the box and ink this in. And in this case, only this little front edge would have that kind of double edge to it. And then lastly, let's do just a couple little details on these boxes so they're not so boring. So these are packing boxes maybe, so we need some there's probably some tape on them and stuff. So let's take this little one. There's a boxes. Let's turn off some of these other layers. And now, because I did all the boxes on a separate layer, and the ink is down below, and the boxes are up on top, I can erase all the stuff behind here, or if I'm worried about um, these lines back there and I still want them, sometimes what I'll do is I'll even just do a layer in between the two. So this is the background. So I'm going to add a new layer, and I'll just paint white in between the two. I don't think that's actually white, is it? Yeah. And I need my other brushes. Come on. So I could just erase that, but I'm if I want to move the boxes around or something or other, and I don't want to ruin my back wall, then what I do, like I said, I'm just painting some white, and see that is not white. Maybe that's white. Yeah, it looks better. So it looks like I'm erasing. Very similar effect, but I'm painting white. And once you do some things like that, when it gets really complicated and once you erase out some of that stuff, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I can see what's going on now. Maybe more clear. And then I think I turned off that other box. Well, let's just do this one here. Um, so this is the boxes. And I'm going to do another layer just because. All right, so I want to find the center of this. So I'm going to, that's way too thick. So I'm just going to Madonna. Okay, so now I'm not an assisted layer, but if I draw a line, hold, I get a straight line, and then I could snap it. So draw a line, wait for it to snap into a straight and then pull it across. And then I'm going to go back into my boxes. And now this is assisted, and go back to my right color. And then draw a line through that center. And that's the center of the box. And so this is going to be the two flaps. And then I'm going to draw a line over on this side. I'm going to chase it around, making a little square. And this is going to be my tape width. And that just was helping me find the width on both sides. And so, and then I'm going to drop this down because usually tape over the edge. So now I've got some tape on there. Maybe I got some little, words here, this end up or something or other. And sometimes it's also nice to have some text on the perspective side. P. So a lot of times I'll block it out and then I'll turn that layer off and then ink it in. And then let's make this one in the front like a crate. And so this one, again, I'm going to go back into my previous layers and use the, I thought I had that assisted, but let's go back and assist this. So wait, snap. And then this I'm going to make into like a crate with a frame around the outside. And then I got to do that on each of these sides. And so, doop. And then I can carry this across and then over, and then when it hits the diagonals, go down, hits a diagonal, go across, hits a diagonal and go up. So now that's got a square there. And usually they have one kind of diagonal board. And so I'm going to I got to draw this on both sides of the center line. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it. And then let's go on the last one. So I pulled this up and over. Now I can't see that back corner because I erased it, but this is actually where, oh no, I did erase it. So I might have to draw this back in to find that corner to then draw that diagonal. And actually, you know what, on this last one, I'm going to erase those for a second. I think I could actually just bring this up and over, this one up and over, and then these ones went up and over, and this one goes up and over. So I could actually do it that way too. So there's a lot of different ways to get to the same results. I do want the one diagonal on this, so let's just draw this one. And like I said, we're just going to kind of eyeball this second one as a little bit thicker. And then this now in Procreate, I just drew this one. It's not quite right. There's this little thing that pops up, says edit shape, and I can actually go in here after I drew this line and kind of play with those little points. And then I think I just click off of it. So this could be, again, you could be done with this, but let's take this to the logical 3D step. So I'm going to go back to my boxes. Let's turn this one down and go back to my blue and box. Okay, so now once I got all this stuff inked in, and then, also you got to think about the construction of the box, whether these are diagonals or whatever. I'm going to do these as if they're a top board here, and then a bottom board going all the way across, and then these vertical boards going this way. And then before I even draw that diagonal in, because that's like going to be another layer deep, I'm going to draw some thickness to this and in perspective and thickness. And then I'm going to draw these diagonals. And I'll put a little bit of thickness on the top of this one. Now, technically, this is like a double board because that's sandwiched in between two boards. And so I added that other little thickness there. I could just eliminate that first, so there's not double line, it could just be one line. So maybe there's some um, technique that they're using. So let's try that on this one. So we're going to do, this is the diagonal. And it's going to have a little bit of thickness. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And then this is going to go a little bit and then back and then over. So again, those little teeny tiny details can actually really make a difference, make it look more realistic, 3D. Last part, let's do these boards. This on the diagonal over to here, then the diagonal goes across, and this one goes across. We're almost done. And we'll draw that across, and then we'll give a little thickness to the diagonal. Whoa. So let's try doing that edit shape again, putting that where it's supposed to be. And how do we get out of this? And then this one's going to be a little bit thicker, and then the rest goes behind this other little box. All right, so now I can turn off my red layers. So see if you can come up with some other details, box-like details on the other boxes. And let's turn that off. And where's our other box? So I got to block out the behind that one too. And let's turn the person up a little bit now. And turn, where's that red? Oh, I say I did my I did my other box on. Okay, whatever. You get the idea. Okay, so let's stop there. Actually, we're going to do the lighting. Um, no, actually, we'll wait. We'll add it. We're going to add a big circular lamp um, hanging from the center, but we got to figure out how to do circles first. So we'll do that in a future lesson. For now, oh, and then one last thing, real quick. Important detail is in my inking. Make sure I've got these windows here. That horizon line is actually going to really help sell this perspective, so that there is this exterior that actually has the correct horizon line. So you might want to, draw some little mountains and stuff on there. But I've got, you know, I don't know, maybe there's some details in there. I don't know. So it's road, street, whatever. Maybe just a couple trees. All right, I'm going to stop there. This is Brian Galassa. I hope you had a good time. I enjoy drawing stuff like this. Thanks for joining me.